So first of all, we have to write x greater than 0. It's a must. Yes, e counterclockwise to negative 3.7 must equal. Very good. So then I will approximate and see if it's greater than 0. It has to be greater than 0 because it's 1 over 3 negative 3.7. 1 over 3.7. So e.
You just type e into the calculus.
Right. It's right here. It's right here. Under ln. Same key. Okay, so second and e to the x in parentheses negative 3.7. We know it's going to be positive, so there is no question there. But let's see how much it is. So 0.0247. So e is approximately 0.0247. Good. What is the condition you have to state for number 46 before you start?
It has to be greater than 2/3.
What?
The x.
Okay, you're right. 3x minus 2 must be greater than 0, which means x greater than 2/3. Excellent. So now I can change it into an exponential equation, and then I'll figure out if the answer is acceptable. So I'm ready.
Was it e?
LOG is not E.
So it's,
Only LN is G. It's E. LOG is 10
to negative 0.8
equals.
3x minus 2.
Good. How do I solve this equation? Now it's linear. I shouldn't have any difficulties with it.
Both sides.
Good. So 10 raised to negative 0.8 plus 2 equals 3x.
Cut that over 3.
Good. So 10 raised to negative 0.8 plus 2 divided by 3. Because this is a positive number, obviously will be greater than 2/3, just to make sure that I'm doing this correctly. I have parentheses for the top, and I get 10 caret in parentheses, negative 0.8, close the parenthesis, and then plus 2, and then divide that by 3. It has to be greater than 0.6, so it is. It's 0.7. So x is approximately 0.7195. This completes chapter 12. There's nothing else, and I will review it next week and the following week. So now the last chapter we have to go through is chapter 7.
You know what you would use these for?
This?
Yeah.
Very good question. Now, depending on what your path in life would be, but we have tremendous real-life situations or applications with exponential functions. And here's one. When you get your car loan, if you need one, or mortgage, or you borrow money for any situation, they will calculate your monthly payment using an exponential function. So people at the bank, they just have a software and just punch in 2 numbers and the rate, normally the APR or whatever they put in, and the amount of money you borrow. And they say, hey, you'll have to pay such and such per month. And I do have that formula saved in my, not in this calculator I have here, but in another one at TI-86. And every time I need something like borrowing money for a car or whatever, I go in with my calculator and I calculate like 5 minutes before they say, oh, how did you do that? Because they have no idea what's behind the software. So I come up with a monthly payment way before they even put in their numbers. So when you get to that, you can call me and I'll save the formula in your calculator, and you can go in and Yep, you should have talked to me about it. Very good. So this is the end, as I said, of chapter 12, and chapter 7 should be a breeze. Why? Because we took the time and we reviewed chapter 6 from cover to cover. So chapter 7 deals with rational functions. and rational expressions. Okay? Rational expressions, chapter 7. Yes, please.
You said last chapter, like it's the last chapter, period?
Last chapter, period. I mean, I hope not in your math adventure. But for this semester, I hope just for this semester, it's the last chapter. The last 7 sections, and then we'll get ready for the final exam. Okay. Can anyone give us an example of a rational expression? So first of all, ratio is the key word here, right? So it has to have a fraction. So f of x, for example, is 3x plus 1 over x minus 2. A ratio of 2 polynomials. Ratio of 2 polynomials. Ratio of 2 polynomials. If there is no x in the denominator, that is not considered a rational function. So for example, f of x equals x over 2 is a linear function. It doesn't have x in the denominator. Now, a few things I would like to remind you here. What happens to a rational expression when the denominator is 0? So for example, if I have this function and I'm asking you to evaluate it at 2, you will say 6 plus 1 divided by 0. So what is the answer? Thank you very much. So now for the same function, I will ask you to give me its domain. So you know that this function does not exist for what x value? 2. So what then I'm asking differently. So then knowing that it does not exist at 2, now what it exists for, what is its domain? And but what about negative infinity? Yes, negative infinity 2 union 2 to infinity. So that will be its domain. So in plain English, anything but 2, correct? Perfect. Now, a very important note that we have not talked about ever before in examples. I mentioned it, but not in detail. Note, very important note. We simplify only factors, comma, not terms. So here's a scenario. If I have 2x plus 1 over x minus 1, I cannot simplify anything. But if I have 2x plus 1 times x minus 1 over, let's say, 2 times x minus 1, I can simplify. Which factor I can simplify by? Correct. So first I have to write that x cannot be 1. How come? Because it's undefined at 1, like this one was undefined at 2. And then I will simplify. And what is the final simplified form of this? 2x plus 1 over 2. This one stays. I cannot simplify anything. There are no factors at the top, and there are no factors from the denominator that I could get rid of. In section 7.1, we will only simplify and find domain. Okay. So on page 447, problem 9, we are given a function r of x, which is 3 plus 2x, everything divided by x cubed plus x squared minus 2x. So here's a question for you. I would like to simplify this 2x with this 2x. Can I do that?
No.
No, because 2x is not a factor at the top and 2x is not a factor at the bottom. Very good. Excellent. But what can I do? I will rearrange the top in order, in descending order. But what will I do with the denominator? It's a trinomial. It's in descending order. Greatest common factor?
X.
Good, excellent. And then what is left in parentheses would be?
X squared plus X minus 2.
Good. So then 2x plus 3 over. See, you're drawing me to drinking.
X plus 1/2 squared.
There must be a 2 in here. So, and this cannot be negative. The product is negative 2. The sum is positive 1. Okay, we need two numbers whose product is negative 2 and whose sum is positive 1. Negative 1 and positive 2. So how do I write this?
X minus 1x plus 2.
So what are the restrictions? How many factors do I see here?
3.
Yes. So please give me 3 restrictions for this particular function.
N equals 0, 1, and then 2.
Now I want the domain. We needed to know the restrictions before finding the domain. So here it is. I'm ready when you are.
Negative infinity
Yes?
to negative 2.
Yes.
Let's see. Union
0,
Careful.
1.
Careful.
negative 2 to 0.
Good. Union.
And then 0 to 1.
Union.
Union 1 to infinity.
Perfect.
How do they want to get this? Why can't it be negative 2?
Because of this.
Negative 2 plus 2 would be 0.
Oh, that's a plus.
That's okay. What about number 12? In number 12, we have r of x, which is 5 over x squared minus 7x. Same question. Please give me the domain.
Can I try?
Yes, please.
Go to the steps and you have the domain.
Say it again.
So I go to the steps and you just want the answer.
I want everyone to understand what we did.
I factored the XL on the bottom. And X minus 7.
So there are 2 restrictions.
0 and 7.
Very good. Excellent.
And then I did negative infinity to 0. Union 7.
0 to 7.
0 to 7.
Union.
Union 7 to infinity.
Very good. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, now I want to simplify. We're looking at problems 17 through 50 on page 448. 17 through 50. 448. And I lost track of my numbers, so that's 9. Good. So feel free to pick if you have your book. If not, I will. Let's start with 31. Which is x cubed plus 7x squared, and everything divided by x squared plus 5x minus 14. We're asked to simplify this rational expression. I can simplify it before I completely factor. Good, excellent. So what will you factor, what will you do to the top?
X squared parentheses x plus 7.
Now let's think about the denominator and tell me how will you factor the denominator.
Oh,
X.
X. Is it
It'd be minus
7 to
Minus 2 plus
minus 2 7 plus 7.
I cannot simplify before I state restrictions. Let me write a note. Note, state restrictions on the variable. What x cannot be, in other words. On the variable
Minus 7
before simplifying. State restrictions on the variable before simplifying. So now you already gave me two restrictions, and they are x not equal and x not equal.
-7.
Very good. And now, what factor will you simplify? What did you say? I'm sorry, I didn't.
What about 0? Because the
Is there a factor of 0 in front of the denominator?
oh yeah, the denominator.
Oh, only when the denominator is 0,
Okay.
the rational function is undefined or expression. Good. So then, is there a factor that we can get rid of?
X plus 7.
Please write 1, because otherwise you may consider it 0. So what is the simplified form of this expression?
X squared over x minus 2.
Is there anything else I can simplify? No, because there is no factor in the denominator of x. The correct answer is this, no matter what your book says. And I disagree with what they say. The correct answer is this. The simplified form of this expression is x squared over x minus 2, only if what?
X is not -7 or 2.
Right, because otherwise it will not be, it will be undefined, right? When I find 2 over 2 and I divide, that's 1. I don't have to write that 2 is not 0. But x over x is not 1. X over x is 1 if
X is 1.
x,
It's not equal to -7 or 2.
we're talking about this one.
Oh.
But you're right. We're talking about this. X over x is not 1. It's 1 if
If it's greater than if it's not equal to 0.
Thank you. Absolutely. X over x is 1 only if x is not 0. 0 over 0 is not 1. Very good. Thank you. Okay, let's move on to the next problem. 35. 4 minus x squared over x minus 2. I claim that I like the denominator and I don't like the numerator. Can anyone explain why I say that?
It's not descending order.
Very good, excellent, thank you. So now it is. I still don't like it.
Because it's a negative.
Right. So I'll pull a negative in front as we did when we reviewed chapter 6. So what do I have at the top now?
X squared plus 4.
Minus 4 indeed. Divided by x minus 2, right? Negative 1 times x squared, negative 1 times negative 4. So what do I do next?
X minus 2, x plus 2.
I need restrictions before I look at simplifying anything. What is the restriction here?
That x does not be 2.
And now I'm ready to simplify. Please write 1 when you simplify, so you don't make a mistake and think it's 0. Because x minus 2 divided by x minus 2 is 1, and x minus 2 divided by x minus 2 is also 1. So what is the simplified form of this expression, assuming x is not 2?
X plus 2.
But there is a minus in front.
Negative
So
X.
either this, which I prefer, or this, which I don't really prefer, but I'm fine with it too. So the correct answer is this. So the answer is negative parentheses x plus 2 only if x is not 2.
You said negative in front. Shouldn't that change the denominator to x plus 2?
Yeah.
into negative x plus 2, but I don't want to do that. I want everything to have a positive leading coefficient so I don't mess it up. So you're saying about this minus in front? So very good question. So we had negative x squared plus 4 over x minus 2, correct?
Yes.
How much is negative over positive?
You're allowed to multiply the top.
I'm not multiplying the top. I'm just factoring out negative 1 as like we always did. Negative 1 times x squared is this. Negative 1 times negative 4 is this. I'm allowed to factor out negative 1 from any expression. And now negative over positive has what sign? Good. So then I have the top, which is x squared minus 4, and the bottom, which is x minus 2. I'm not bringing that here. I'm just saying negative over positive is negative. It stays outside. I want everything to have a positive leading coefficient. Otherwise, I can factor. I can simplify. Is that better? Perfect. Very good question. Thank you. Let's look at 47. 3 x squared minus 5x minus 2. Everything divided by 6x cubed plus 2x squared plus 3x plus 1. Yes, good luck. 3 minutes. And then we move on. Say it again. Take each top and bottom aside and do your magic on it. Can anyone get us started?
So it's the top is x minus 3. What's the
We are looking for two numbers whose product is
negative 6?
very good and whose sum is
Negative 5.
good. But you have to replace and factor by grouping because you have the 3 in front. You cannot directly write the product.
Negative 6
Yes, negative 6
and 1.
and 1. So please replace the middle term with negative 6x plus 1x. Go ahead, please. The leading coefficient is not 1. You cannot directly write the product.
X minus 2, 3x plus 1. So it should be 3x parentheses x minus.
What should I write here?
X minus 2 and then minus 1.
Now I look. Positive 1. So then, see why chapter 7 is an application of chapter 6? Good. Perfect. So then the factor form is?
3x plus 1 and then times 1 minus 2.
So we finished just the top. Good. The bottom cannot be difficult. Why? The bottom cannot be difficult.
Because it's basically the same thing.
Because there are how many terms?
4.
And what is the only method for 4 terms?
You just.
Good. So it cannot be difficult.
it should be 3x plus 1.
So let's show to all.
Take x out.
2x.
X
2x squared. Then you should have 3x plus 1. And 2x plus 1.
I'm literally doing this when I factor. I'm not kidding. Because sometimes I may come up with something and then I start messing it up. It's possible. Okay? So it's positive 1. So I recommend don't look at the other two terms before you establish the common factor. So
No, it's 3x plus 1, 2x.
I don't cover it like that, but I don't look at it before I write this. Okay? So then 2x squared plus 1. Now I'm ready to come back to the original problem. Any questions on this? Okay, the original problem is here, so I have 3x plus 1 and 2x squared plus 1. So this, can anyone tell us the sign of this factor always? It's 2 times positive plus positive.
Never been positive.
It will never be 0. So 2x squared plus 1 never equals 0, so there is no restriction that I have to write for that. But for this one, I do have to write a restriction. So x does not equal,
-1/3.
very good, excellent. So then, now I'm ready to simplify. What goes away?
3x plus 1.
Please write the ones. They will always help you. So then the simplified form is x minus 2 over 2x squared plus 1, and I put comma if x does not equal -1/3. This is the correct answer. Any questions? Okay, we continue with the same thing, but we are multiplying and dividing rational expressions now. 7.2. It was? No.
It's about to get harder.
Not really. I promise. Not really. Not in multiplying and dividing. When we add and subtract, yes. But not when we multiply and divide. So 7.2 multiplying and dividing. Allow me to write rational expressions. REs. Okay. On page 458, I'm looking at products first. And here I'm going to start with 14. A squared minus 4a plus 4, everything divided by a squared minus 4 and multiplied by a plus 3 over a minus 2. It looks awful, but you'll see it's not difficult.
What page again?
458, sorry. Okay. I would like to do this. I would like to simplify this a squared and this a squared and a 4 and a 4 and a. Yes? No? Maybe. One more time. I would like to cross the a squared with a squared and cross the 4's and cross the a's. Can I do that?
Mhm.
Why?
Term.
Because they are terms and not factors. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Good. So now this is completely factored. This is completely factored. I cannot do anything to it. But I have to address this, and I definitely have to address that. So I need a factor form of a squared minus 4a plus 4. It's a trinomial. It's in descending order. No greatest common factor, no negative leading coefficient. Special product.
Okay.
Special product. It's our contract from the first day of class.
minus 2 squared.
Excellent. See, the torture meant something. See how easy it is now? Because you look at it and you say, oh, I remember this. Okay, what about the denominator?
A equals 2, A minus.
How many restrictions I have to write before I even think of simplifying?
2.
Yes, because this factor is the same, of course. So only two different factors. So I will write, excellent. A not equal, A not equal.
2 and -2.
Now I'm ready to simplify. Which common factors go away? And please write 1 after you simplify.
You get a minus 2.
A minus 2 with one of these. Please write 1. And then
So it's a minus 2 over 8.
so another a minus 2 from here with an a minus 2 from here, and I write 1.
And then
And then there is nothing else. So then the simplified form will be
A plus 3 y equals 2.
exactly. Exactly. Very good. See? Excellent. Okay, I'm going to choose one and you will work on it. 16. X squared plus 9x. It's an easy one. It's a little long, but it's easy. X squared minus 15x plus 44 and multiplied by x squared minus 11x plus 28. It's easy because all leading coefficients are
positive.
all leading coefficients are
X.
all leading coefficients are
I don't know.
1. So you don't have to use the long procedure with factoring by grouping, and then we'll go to division. By the way, will you allow me to simplify some x squared here and some x squared over there? And no, of course not. Good. Can anyone give us any of this?
X plus 4, X plus 5.
Do you all agree with the first one being x plus 4, x plus 5? Okay, the next one.
Over X minus 4, X minus 11.
Do you all agree with x minus 4, x minus 11 for the denominator of the first fraction? Okay, the top of the second.
X minus 4, X minus 7.
We all agree with x minus 4, x minus 7?
And then X plus 5, X plus 7.
Do we all agree with x plus 5, x plus 7? Then you will have to give me how many restrictions before we even look at simplifying.
X cannot be equal to 4, 11,
Negative 5.
-5, and -7.
Very good, excellent.
And then you simplify.
What am I simplifying?
Negative 4.
So not negative 4, but
No, x
yes,
minus
x
4.
minus 4, and please put 1.
X plus 5.
X plus 5, and please put 1.
X.
So the simplified form is, you do not redistribute, please. You keep it in the factor form. That's how we need it.
7 if it's not.
Are we okay with multiplying? Can we move on to division? Good. I wanted to hear that. I heard it. I can move on to division. Okay, let's start with 28. X minus 3 over 2 minus x divided by x squared plus 3x minus 18, everything divided by x squared plus 2x minus 8. First of all, how do we divide two fractions? I keep the first fraction unchanged, and what do I do to the second one? and change it into a product, right? So when I divide two fractions, I copy the first fraction, then I multiply by the multiplicative inverse of the second one, correct? Yes?
Reciprocal.
Yes. Is that okay, everyone?
Sure.
How come one line can't be -5?
Say it again.
What the last problem? How come one is the truth can't be
This one?
Yeah.
Because it's this one. If you remember some time ago, I wrote a note. We must state restrictions before we simplify. So if that factor disappeared afterwards, I don't care. The restrictions have to stay. Because we are looking at the original problem. Actually, it's a very good question. We are looking at the original problem, not at the final result. So the restrictions are on the original problem from the get-go. Okay, good. I'm looking at this problem and I realize that I like 3 of those, but I don't like one. Which one I don't like?
2 minus x.
Of course I don't like 2 minus x because it messes up my whole thing. Good. So I will copy, and what will I do with 2 minus x? I will rewrite it how?
X minus 2.
I have to take the term with the sign in front of it. X plus 2. Now I don't like it because, good, what will I do with it? We did this in factoring in chapter 6. I must factor out the negative leading coefficient. What is left in parentheses, please? X minus 2 divided by, now I can factor the top and I can factor the bottom. How do we factor the top?
X minus 3, x plus 6.
We all agree with x minus 3x plus 6? And the denominator?
X plus 4, x minus 2.
Do you all agree with x plus 4x minus 2? Okay, very good. Now, I have to state how many restrictions before I continue. 2 different ones, correct. So one of them is x not equal.
2 and negative 4.
Good. Good. So now I come back and I continue here. Tell me what to do with this. Because the top has positive in front. The bottom has negative in front. Where does that sign go? Right in front of the fraction line. So then x minus 3 over x minus 2. And now I will flip the second fraction and change the division into a product. X plus 4, x minus 2, x minus 3, x plus 6. I have 2 new factors in the denominator that I didn't have before, so I have to state 2 more restrictions for the division.
3 and negative 6.
3 and negative 6. So now I am ready, finally, to simplify. So can anyone tell us what to simplify, what we get rid of?
X minus 3.
Please write 1 when you get rid of a factor. And then?
X minus 2.
And x minus 2 and x minus 2. And what is the simplified form?
X plus 4 over x plus 6.
With minus in front, x plus 4 over x plus 6 with all these restrictions attached. Okay, 2 divisions or 1 division for you. Let's look at okay, ready for a tough one. So we can move on. 47. They're all n's. I'm sorry if n. This is 47. So 6n squared minus, plus 7n minus 3 everything over n squared minus 9n plus 8. Once we do this, we can move on to addition and subtraction.